crimping. It's pretty much, it's not hard. Something is hard, but mainly it's just the way you push your finger. It's just putting gather on your sleeves. You see how sometimes there's a gather on a really nice women dress, like a dress jacket, a blazer. The sleeve fits perfectly because there's a little extra ease. The sleeve is a little bigger than the armhole, so you have to do this to fit the sleeve into the armhole. So you'll be using number 16, and then we're going to do a gather, and then you just learn how to do the bigger stitch, and then just the spaghetti straps. Okay, I'm going to do the crimping first. So this is the sleeve. You're going to do the sleeve seam. So you're going to do sleeve seam, 1/2 inch seam allowance. So same thing, you're going to start double stitch, back stitch, and finish it, back stitch. You're going to press the seam open. So now the trick is put your finger behind the foot and you press it really hard. While I'm sewing it, it's going to push it and going to give you the gather. So you're going to start, see there's a notch on both sides of the sleeve. So this is the cap of the sleeve. There's notches. There's a double notch and a single notch. Double notch is telling the sewer that is the back part of your sleeve. Single notch is the front part of the sleeve. So we're gonna start at a 1/4 seam first, where the notch is. You're gonna put your finger right behind the foot, and you're gonna keep sewing. And you don't really let go. You're gonna sew a 1/4. It's gonna give the pucker. It's gonna give you. You're gonna keep sewing, and until it comes around. And then when it comes around, you can just kind of run it off. See how it gives you the puckering? So how now it gives you a nice sleeve. Okay. Then you're gonna do another one, 1/8 apart from that first stitch. So we're gonna do 1/8 apart. Same thing. Put your finger behind the foot, and you're just gonna keep sewing. Just give you more pucker. I can't see this blocking. So I'm going to give you double roll.
So with our finger, we kind of retain.
Yeah, you're retaining.
Okay.
You're pushing it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're pushing the gathers. Exactly. And then you just leave it like this. You don't have to really iron. You kind of leave it like that, and then that's it for this sample. So you just kind of leave it like that. Okay. So this is one. Our next one is the gather. So you need the 17A and a 17B. So the 17B is to control the gather. That's the first part is to do the gather, the upper part. And you'll find the pattern, there's 2 notches on each side of the bodice. So 2 big here and then 2 here. So it's telling the sewer from this notch to this notch, we're putting the gather in there, and then from this notch to this notch, we're doing gather. So we're gonna start for the first one side, I'm gonna do gather. So gather, you're going to turn your stitches number 5. We're going to start from one notch to the other side, and you're going to start at a 1/4 inch seam allowance first. And this is the time that you do not need to backstitch. So you're going to start sewing a 1/4 seam allowance, and then when you feel your notch on the other side, I know I have it. Where to go? So when you see your notch, and you're gonna stop. Okay, stop. Pull your thread out and cut some. Leave some thread. Leave extra thread. Then you're gonna start the second stitch. So you're gonna do 2 rows, 1/8 apart. Same thing, no back stitch. And stop at the notch and pull extra thread. So right now you have double stitch on one part of the bodice, and you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Start at the quarter, no back stitch, and you're going to stop when you see the notch. I'm going to clip it a little more. And then stop, pull thread out, 1/8 apart from the other one, the other stitch. So now you got both sides that you're ready to do gather. To do gather, you're going to take both the stitch on either side, because right now we don't have the right or wrong side. You just pick any side that you want. Just take both of the thread. So take both, and you're just going to hold with your finger and you're going to pull. That gives you the gathers. Okay. And on one side, what you can do is to tie, to like lock that one end so it won't keep undone. So I'm just going to lock one side and it won't come undone for me. One side is for me to pull, and same thing I'm going to do the other side. I'm going to tie one end. You can tie like the way you tie a deadlock, or you can do like a twist. Either way will work. Okay, and then both top of both stitch, just pull to give yourself gathers. Okay. Once you do that, the bottom one that you have, that they give you notches too. It's telling you, see how the first part you have this notch line up with this with no gather. Okay. So you're going to pin here. The other side, there's notch. It's telling you that would match up. The rest is going to be ease, so it's going to be puckering. So you can line it up with the other notch, and the rest, what you can do is just even out your gather. You kind of spread it, make sure it's even, so you don't get one side more gathered than the other. The little girl's dress that we have to do, there's a lot of gather. We definitely have to even that out. But here, it just, from the first part, flat, no gather, and then these two notch match up with the gather in there. And there's another notch from the center, no gather, and then the side, no gather, and then the other side, after that part, the gather. So pretty much is the bust area get the gather. So you just have all your pin in place together. Now you're going to stitch them together. You're going to do 1/2 inch seam allowance, and you will definitely cover. You won't be sewing on top of these stitches, because we did the first one is a quarter and then 1/8 apart. Total is 3/8. So your seam allowance is 1/2 inch. So you definitely will be outside of that seam allowance. So we're going to sew. You're going to turn your machine back into 2 3/4, and then this is the regular stitch, and then regular stitch you want to back stitch because you don't want this undone. I'm going to do 1/2 inch, and make sure your gather is pretty even, spread out. push your gather flat, and it's easier to sew. And then back stitch in the end. Once you finish, you can trim out all the extra thread that you don't need. And you flip it over. You have like a bodice with the gathers. And then the seam, when you iron, you're just going to push down. So when you iron, your seam is going to push down. And I'll leave everything up on the board too. I think somehow they changed the size of everything. So, spaghetti straps, very easy. You're gonna need the one that's only 1 inch wide. You're gonna fold it in half. Oops, you can pin them if you want, but you might not need to. Or you can pin the first part just to start. So we're gonna sew at a 1/4 seam allowance, pretty much half of this. Okay. Make sure your seam allowance is pretty straight. If you're uneven, your spaghetti strap will look one part is skinnier than the other. So you're gonna sew all. You're just gonna keep sewing all the way close.
Fabric should we get?
What do you mean should you get? You should have oh, the dress? Sorry.
The dress.
When you say that, I'm like,
no,
what? Okay.
No,
I think 2 yards.
Okay.
Okay.
And it is okay if we just use muslin, right?
Yes, it's okay. Yes. I know sometimes like some don't like the muslin because they think it is kind of ugly. Or you can totally tie-dye it after you're done. Or bleach it, or you know. Only if you want to. National Swap Meet got a lot of cheap fabric. I used to overbuy a lot of fabric. My garage is still got tons of fabric. Okay. You just sew the whole thing, cut it out. You can just even out. Now the trick is to turn this over. You have your little turner. Mine's a little different. You can even custom make this from a dry clean hanger. Just turn it, you know. So it's about, what you're gonna do, you're gonna clip about 1/2 inch down. Clip half of it. So you're gonna do that, and then you're gonna hook this through. It's tight. I might not need it. And then you're gonna see the little hook. You're gonna put that hook right in that little clip that you cut. And then I can help you to start sometime. Just keep pulling. And once you pass through the end, you can just take this out and kind of keep pushing it out. There you go. Spaghetti
So
straps.
cool.
You can cut, you know, cut both ends if they look ugly or something, or tie both ends. Okay, so this is the first 3, and then I'll demo after maybe a little